It's not what I meant to do. But don't worry, I am wearing clothes. It is hot in here though. So I turned the air conditioner on just for a little while, but knowing my computer, it's definitely gonna rank that back up real quick, real soon. So if you hear the fan in the background, I am incredibly sorry. But I want to say hello, everyone. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Thursday. I know I am. So much stuff is happening today. So let's go ahead and get right into that. So what started on Twitter was a little spat, a little spackety spat between some content creators by the name of, one of them being by the name of Schlep, and the other one by the name of ChibiReviews. For those who do not know, I know ChibiReviews from every now and again. I kind of watch his videos here and there. He covers like anime, does all that kind of stuff. Real defendant on, the concept of like lolly and art and stuff like that. So I can understand his position. And Schlep is a predator hunter channel. From what I understood, he is a victim of one of the issues of like the major issues of like what Roblox is going through right now, which is the predator issue that I think a lot of people are quite aware of. So let's just go ahead and start with that. First and foremost, let me go ahead and start with this. I don't think Schlep is like a predator. And I will explain later on why I don't think he's a predator. Because again, it goes back to my previous videos and my live streams that I've been doing. I've said this time and time again. I'll keep saying it until it's beaten into everyone's fucking brain. The act itself is not the crime. It's whether or not the act fits within the political agenda. Now, what is Schlep's political agenda? Because clearly, within the Google documents that I read here, the stuff against his voice actor, I already forgot, Ace the Narrator, there we go, Ace the Narrator. It's not looking good, and then Schlep actually does defend it, and his defense is not really a really good defense, and honestly, it kind of goes to show you why vigilantism should honestly be outlawed and why people like this should be thrown into jail, because they don't really understand the law. His defense is, well, because they were minors at the time, because at the time, we'll go through it, but just look, long story short, because they were minors, and despite the fact that they were minors and they were sharing pics of each other with each other, it was perfectly fine in his eyes. Now, let me go ahead and say this. I can understand where he comes from that. And while I do understand that, because I said it before on my channel, but that was coming from a position of being ignorant. Because federally, that is against the law. And let me show you right here. Let's see if I can find it. Nope. Hold on. Is it a federal crime for minors to exchange nude pics with other minors? And yes, it can technically be a federal crime for minors to exchange nude or sexually explicit pictures with other minors in the United States because it falls under federal child pornography laws. Why federal law applies? Federal statutes like 18 USC 2252 and 2252A prohibit the knowing transportation, distribution, receipt, or possession of visual depictions of minors, anyone under the age of 18, engaging in sexual explicit conduct when it involves an interstate or foreign commerce, which almost always includes the internet, cell phone, apps, or any type of digital transmission, since these use interstate networks. A nude or explicit photo of a minor qualifies as CP under the legal definition of 18 USC, even if it is self-taking sexting, and even if both senders and receivers are minors and consenting, because remember, minors cannot consent. I can understand from Schlep's position, being a victim of grooming, right? Because you have to keep in mind in terms of his perspective. He was a victim of grooming. I'm not going to take that away from him. But at the same time, it's not going to be a cudgel for him to use as a defense. He is a victim of grooming. So to him, even though he's taken up a virtuous cause of saying he's against all forms of child pornography, he cannot, based on his trauma, uphold that claim because he already has shown through this drama that he has a hole in his philosophy, and that hole is if the child exchanges pictures with other children online, well, then it's perfectly fine with him. When it's not, when it's federally against the law. Sending and receiving such image can be charged in distribution, right? Producing the image and taking the image can, blah, blah, blah. The law does not have an exception for minors exchanging images with other minors, and the age of consent in any state is irrelevant for these federal definitions. It says right here, important realities and prosecutions. Technically illegal on paper, but federal prosecution of minors for consensual sexting with other minors is extremely rare because no one reports on it. Federal cases typically target adults exploiting children because they're focusing more on adult cases. But I think that's more of a proxy. Well, not really a proxy. It's a loophole, to be honest, in dealing with the actual issue. Not only do you need to also target the adults that target children, you also need to target the children that also target children. And I'll tell you why. It's because you've normalized it in their mind. Sexting between two children is perfectly fine. Okay, but what happens? It's just them just masturbating, right? Okay, so what happens when that becomes the norm and then those children grow into adults? Then the concept is normalized. Okay, so if the concept is normalized, then what you are doing is what? You have a corporation like Discord that has a host of images of children on their servers exchanging it with each other. Which means not only do the children have possession of it, the corporation also has possession of it too. And then you also create the normalization effect of the child holding on to that said picture, and then growing up with that said picture and holding on with said picture. And saying, well, that's just the, that the picture of my sweetheart or my wife or my ex or, what have you. It's still possession of child pornography. So you would still need to crack down on children. Like, I know it sounds like a harsh reality, but I think that's the thing that, like, if you really want to crack down on pedophilia, you can't just focus on the whole adult thing, because you're creating a safe space for pedophilia in terms of, like, being a child. Because you're saying, oh, it's perfectly fine for you to do it as you're a child, but once you're an adult, you gotta put all that stuff up. Or are you just telling them to hide it better at that point? So, yeah, it's really a conundrum when you kind of look at it that way. So I'm more for the advocate of slamming both categories, adults and children, in terms of exchanging nudes in any way, shape, or form. Unless they're both adults, that at that point they can consent. So we'll be going over the Google documents, but let me go ahead and say this. Like I said, I don't think he's a pedophile. I think he's conditioned himself in his mind that, considering he is a victim, the loophole is that children need that second hand, that help. So he's more forgiving with children than he is with anybody else. Which is kind of funny because, when you kind of look at both ChibiReviews and Schlep, like, they're both people who have built their whole persona on, like, calling out pedophiles, which is kind of funny. Which, it's funny, but it's also sad, and it kind of reveals something very interesting. That, and this is why, like, everyone doesn't, like, come together on the whole idea of, like, pedophilia, because, like, again, like, the act itself is not the crime, because if that was the case, like, then there will be unity. The act itself is not the crime. The act, whether it furthers the political agenda or not, is the crime itself. So for Schlep, despite the fact that it is a crime for a child to exchange nudes with another child, it doesn't fit his political narrative, nor does it fit his trauma, because he justifies it through his trauma, and he extends that forgiveness to those children, despite the fact that they're committing a federal crime. So, yeah, that's a very, very interesting case of, like, two people calling each other pedophiles while also at the exact same time building a career off of calling out pedophiles, which is quite interesting. Yeah. So I would say, even to, like, people like ChibiReviews, just because you call out pedophiles, and I'll even say to Schlep, just because you're in the business of calling out pedophiles does not mean you are not open to criticism, whether you are a victim or a virtue signaling warrior of moral superiority. It does not matter. Because, I call out, like, Muslims and, the Quran and Muhammad marrying Aisha at the age of 6 and, having sex with her at the age of 9 and pointing out how filthy the Quran is. Honestly, I want people more focused on that than, this goofy ass crap, because, we could talk about that as much as, until the cow comes home, but, to stop it, well, then you'll just get killed. Because, they'll label you as an apostate, and, the people that actually see that as them honoring the Prophet Muhammad would actually kill you, because at that point, you're breaking Sharia law, and which is by extension condemning the Prophet Muhammad, and at that point, you're just basically just like, yeah, you're going to get unalived at that point. So we're going to go ahead and get into the Google document here. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Thursday. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. I'm going to call you Jay Jr. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so let me go ahead and say this real quick. Everything in this Google document is to be taken with a grain of salt. All right. I am not accusing Schlep of anything. If anything, I will accuse him of having poor practices and principles at that point. I think that's fair. So let's go ahead and get into this. All right, the Ace the Narrator group chat. The archive Discord group chat containing Ace the Narrator and Schlep, along with other users. The group chat contains information pertaining to Ace the Narrator and his inappropriate behavior toward an 11-year-old girl by the name of Loli, which is kind of funny because that's basically Lolita, Loli. When he was 14-15, he confirms that he asked her for pornography and requested and attempted to persuade her for CSAM. There are context clues to suggest he most likely knew her age. And here's the group chat that applies that he mostly knew his age. Are you early or are you late? No, you're early. You're early. We just got into the Google document. Don't worry. I'm going to be doing... I'm going to pull up my notepad so I can take some notes here. There we go. Bam! Okay, so... At this point... Ace is like 14 to 15. And he's like hitting up an 11-year-old girl. Okay, so in terms of like DSM-5 pedophilia disorder, he does kind of fit that. Actually, no, wait, hold on, wait. My math is not mapping. No, he doesn't. He's within that age bracket. It's just 14 is 13. 14 is 3 years apart, 15 is 4 years apart. So that's perfectly fine within that range, but in terms of like in terms of like a cultural standpoint, that's a high schooler, probably freshman, probably sophomore, asking nudes from someone in middle school. So academically, it doesn't really fit it. But in terms of cultural standpoint, it's a high schooler hitting up on a middle schooler. So doesn't fall... I can't academically call Ace a pedophile, but at the same time, culturally, he does look like a fucking freak. And that's fair for me to say. Okay. Let's see. Ace 15, hitting on a 7-year-old. Most likely knew the age. Yo, I like your stuff. Yo, can you give me a rundown on this document? Okay, that doesn't really say anything. This GC was created in August 26th of last year, in which Ace the Narrator and his associates attempted to reach out to Guamgo to clear the allegations. Schlep was present in the GC. Hey, Ace the Narrator, this Guamco, do you mind if I add someone to the GC who is much more versed on the situation? I haven't been able to focus on this stuff due to personal issues I'm currently facing, and I don't want to... So cut it? Oh, excuse me. Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't want to be misinformation. There to be misinformation going around. LMK, if you're cool with that. A user named Grady was added by Guamco, in which he confronts Ace the Narrator on his interactions with the user Loli, because someone who got in contact with me connected with me as they claim to be Loli, and I need to know if she's real. Okay. Am I already 11 pages? Wait. How did I get down here? That was weird. Oh, wait. I don't know why I thought I was at the top of the fucking page. My bad. My bad, guys. It's the white background. Nothing against white people, by the way. It's just the white background. That doesn't help. My eyes are getting bad. I am so sorry, chat. I am so sorry. But that was page 11. That was page 11. Yeah, let's start at the beginning. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Let's see. Schlep is a fraud. Ace the Narrator is currently working with and is employed by Schlep to be the voice actor for his channel. Schlep is aware of the ongoing allegations against Ace, such as child porn distribution and solicitation, as well as Ace the Narrator having allegedly sexually engaged with a 13-year-old girl when he was 16. Schlep was made aware of this in August 2025, yet as late of December 10, 2025, Schlep was still seen having Ace the Narrator added on Discord while also following him on Twitter. Schlep defended Ace by claiming that the people are spreading lies against him. Okay. Document compiling allegations. Oh, I just don't want to give them now because either way it's technically child pornography. Okay, so that's lowly. That's her saying like me giving these pictures away is child pornography. And Sin, who is Ace the Narrator, says very true, but the FBI haven't caught him yet, so that's him knowing what he is accepting is child pornography. Because it's not a technicality. That is child pornography. And he knows what he's accepting. I don't know if he's accepting them or not. I'm not entirely sure. But trying to negotiate that ain't any better either. Oh, submit mood. Let's see. Sin. That's his old alias for Ace the Narrator, attempting to solicit child pornography in 2020. He would be 14, and even when he was 15, Lolly was 11. So that was back in 2020. This is 2022. Tip pick time. So you want your tip pick yet? Tip pick? What the fuck is a tip pick? A tip pick. Hey, what the hell's a tip pick? Oh god, it's it's a okay. It's slang for penis pick. Okay, got it. Got it. It's slang for penis pick. Don't ask AI that. Oh, trust me, I ask AI a lot of things. I am not afraid. I am not afraid. Okay, so he's asking for a tip pick time apparently. Interesting. Let's see. Ace is asking Lowly 11 for pictures. She knows what he has. Well, she has is CP, but he doesn't really care, while saying the FBI hasn't caught him. Okay. Damn, the only pic I got was his print, which caught me off guard, and a dick pic, which was a joke at first. It was a TikTok, and he did end up sending one and okay, so he did send a penis pic, even though it was a joke. So he even sent one himself. So he sent dick pics in Snap. Ace the Narrator was also seen openly discussing and even allegedly sharing child pornography of himself in 2022 when it was 16 to other minors. Hey chat, how much money you want to bet this man has no father in his life? Which is also another phenomenon that I'm actually kind of noticing. Like, given the rise of fatherless families, Schlep and ChibiReviews do kind of fall into the same category of two men who were boys who grew up without fathers. And this is the outcome of what happens when children grow up without fathers, and their whole representation or their whole growth development was solely determined either by their single parent mother or a combination of like some type of parental figure that is not like biologically directly tied to like the mother and father role, which is kind of interesting. I kind of noticed that. So yeah, like ChibiReviews and Schlep, they're both, they've formed their whole identity around the idea of like calling out predators, but they're also like, they both have like the same thing in common. Like they were both raised under like fucked up circumstances, like with no father. He does have, I know he has a father, but he had posts that were like highlighting the fact like his father wasn't really much in his life. Like he didn't really have like a strong family tie. Like I know his father it was in his life, but he wasn't like in his life. Like he had like a rocky relationship with his father. Based on what I could find, I could be wrong on that. Let me know if I'm wrong on that. Let's see. Sin. Yay, but then until then, I want to see your big, beautiful boobs and everything else you'll let me see. Yeah, this kid's like really horny. Yeah, the internet was a problem. This is why. This is why, like, because this is him being at 16. This is why people like him should be like out dating instead of like being online. Because he'll be around people his age. Also, I have a video of him jerking off. Here's two for starters. Okay. Can we? What? Oh, that is so. Can we play? Yeah, can we play? Really? I'm still waiting for what? You promised you would do it as soon as your parents are gone, but now I have to wait. My parents are still here. Will you still send pics? I love them. Soon, yeah. How soon? Are you mad at me? You haven't shown me your boobs in like 2 weeks because I can't. Show me those massive tits. Jesus fucking Christ, bro. Jesus Christ. Show me those massive tits of yours and everything you'll everything you'll let me see so I can ejaculate to them. This is the literal definition of a simp. Jesus Christ. Stop. I can finally imagine myself sucking on those titties. Wow. And maybe more. Maybe I can see. I'm not gonna read that part. See your wet member, the bubble gum down there. Because you're already so wet just from being my little cum slut. Can we play? Really? I'm still waiting. For what? Okay, so that's just the enhanced version. Okay. Numerous more examples of Sin, who is Ace the Narrator, openly admitting or attempting to solicit child pornography from numerous girls. He was actively sexually messaging through 2020 and 2023. It's either that or French. I know French well, at least a bit. I want to be fluent in Spanish since I mix my words. Anyways, story of sin. You may know sin as having a big ego on things such as feeling superior, excuse me, than others and wanting to be a bigger person than others. After a while, his exes have confessed. He asked for nudes, mainly boob pics. And we can't necessarily say it's like a, a bitter ex kind of thing because we do have screenshots of him asking for that kind of stuff. Now, whether or not he got it, we're not entirely sure, but it sounds like he actually got them. It sounds like he actually sent them. Some of the exes, including me, thought it was strange because when Sin asked me, barely knew each other and occasionally got in calls and played games together, out of nowhere, he just asked for pics. Why did he sound like a sex addict? I'm not the only one who has experienced this. Other people here have witnessed it and declined Sin for it. I'm sure some girls have sent him pictures, and that's okay. I'm one of those people, and it's not our fault because, of course, we were together. But everyone just told people during that time we were just getting tired of Sin. There's more, but and just kind of cuts off right there. This sensei, he's dated 7 girls, all E-dated. Vin attests that there were numerous girls he actively solicited child pornography from, with Ace even admitting in January 10th, 2021, that he had actively dated 7 girls online. Okay? So he is admitting, well, she's admitting that he is actively dated, and he's even admitting it too. So it ain't no lie. It ain't no lie. I mean, are you willing to show your boobs, your bobs? Show me your bobs. That's kind of my only interest because I'm not kinky. Well, that's because boobs are just normalized to you, so you don't find it. So, but it is kinky. All right, show me your ass. Why? Because I asked you to. Jesus Christ. This is literal fatherless behavior. Like, bro, like, okay, like let me tell you something about my past, right? Like, my father was in my life, like, for at least 8 years before my mother passed. And then he couldn't cope with it, and he ended up getting, like, addicted to, like, drugs and alcohol. And that's when my grandmother had to take care of me. But my father was kind of, like, on and off with me after that. But, like, before that, like, my father was, like, a real father. Like, he would say, hey, son, don't do this, do that. If your mom says you need to be doing this, you need to listen to her, or else I'm going to come in there and beat your ass. I had some things like that. And even then, like, growing up, I had girlfriends. But my dad was, like, so much out of my life to the point to where he thought I was gay. And his whole excuse was, despite the fact that he was barely in my life, and he'll be missing for like 6 to 9 months, right? And then he'll show up once, and that's like me hanging out with my guy friends, and we're just like on GBA, like we'll have like the GBA link cables, and at that time we were actually like playing like Sonic Battle and doing like the mini games on that one, and he'll see that and he'll say like, why are you always hanging around guys? I always see you hanging around guys. Stop being gay. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I've had, like, several girlfriends, like, while you've been gone out of my fucking life. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean I'm gay? Like, and when I actually had relationships with them and when I was hitting on them, I would never talk like this. And I was very shy. Like, this is fatherless behavior. This is a rise in fatherless behavior. So I can see from Schlep's perspective why he's defending him. I can see that. but it's still a crime. It's still a crime, especially coming from a position where you're a predator hunter with over 2 million subscribers, and you have this philosophy of you're against all forms of child abuse, but your exception is if the child is abusing another child, which ain't really a principle to have as a predator hunter, because then that just you're creating generational predators at that point. Because then what the child does, like for instance, Mr. This guy here, Mr. Sin, what if that behavior doesn't die out? Because he sounds like he has a sex addiction. What if that behavior doesn't die out? And as much as like a lot of these people within the anti-lolly coalition always like to point out they like it is a fact. It is a fact. Like those who are addicted with porn seek out stronger things. That is true. That is a true fact. The problem here is that Schlep is quite literally in cahoots with a person who has a psychological trait that turns him into a ticking time bomb, where if he's not getting the psychological help, who knows what's on this guy's hard drive, let alone what he's been doing. And who knows, he may actually still have those pictures. So that does contradict his principle, and that does contradict his position as a predator hunter. And I've said it time and time again, like I don't trust a lot of these predator hunters. I don't trust Gideon, I don't trust Skeeter, I don't trust any of them, because they haven't not established some type of trust system that says this is why you can trust me, not because I'm doing the morally right thing, but statistically and philosophically I am doing the right thing. Because I don't know if you guys are aware with the whole Gideon thing. I'm not entirely sure. I have to like do some research on that one. Apparently, like that whole thing with like Gideon EDP, where he showed up at that dialysis center in the cupcake outfit, that was because Gideon did an interview with EDP and brought him into his Discord. And at that time, EDP was grooming a child in Gideon's Discord. And when Gideon caught word of it, he decided to make a video about it to just make money off of it. And I think a lot of people didn't know the context as to why they were busting EDP. Like, they knew the context that he was grooming a child, but they didn't know the circumstances of where he was grooming the child, which was under a Predator channel's Discord, which is kind of ironic. All right, show me your ass, yada, yada, yada. Saying I'm not really good in the state right now. I can't trust anyone. I'm sorry, but I'm horny. It's called boundaries, dude. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, he's giving off rape tendencies. It's all right. Take your time. I might as well ask this while I'm at it. What about you in a bra, or is that also a no unless you... Man, it's acting like he's ordering fast food. Jesus Christ. Do every sexual thing you can think of as you undress fully from head to toe. Jesus Christ. You'll let me see everything in so long, smiley face. I will think about it. You can see anything you want on me too, like down there. Is that so? Mm-hmm. So then who's Yuna? I think that was the third. Yeah, I think she's the 13th. Enable, but Sin. No, but I'm incredibly horny right now. I don't want to explain anything. I'm not definitely good. Then give a blowjob. Enable. I'll think about it. Sin throws away sandwich. Enable. Why would you do that? Excuse me. Blank gave me bullshit. No blowjob. No sandwich. Enable. I'm joking, fucker. I'm just teasing you. Calm down. Sin makes another sandwich. Now give. Enable. Heartbroken. Gives blowjob. There you go. I think this is. Oh, I don't know. The other stuff, that's already kind of crossing the line. I think this is just twilly at this point. Like, that point is just toilet humor. But the rest is already kind of like a crime. You want me to send the uncensored part? I'm guessing this is him. Or is it somebody else? Do you, or are you going to accept my balls of steel? I'll send nudes right now. So I'm guessing synthetic is him? Is there a paragraph at the bottom? Even more samples of Sin Ace acting extremely sexual towards numerous girls and even pressuring them to engage sexually with him on camera for his own gratification. Many were extremely uncomfortable and felt forced to oblige. Keep in mind, regardless of age, this is illegal and a repeat pattern of behavior. Yeah, that is true. That lasted for numerous years. This is made even more concerning with multiple examples of large age gaps being present between Ace and these girls. Yeah, that is true. Like, there was large age gap, and I'm kind of questioning, like, what are the age gaps in this one? Because, like, he's going from, like, him being 14, 15 with an 11-year-old, and then he's 16 with a 13-year-old. So, like, what is he as an 18-year-old? Like, 15, 16? Or is he still, like, fucking around with, like, 11, 13-year-olds? Like, that is kind of something to, like, question. I'm not gonna read the rest of all that. That's just more pervy crap. Schlep defending the Ace Narrator. Despite knowing about these allegations for several months, earliest instance being August 2025, Schlep continues to associate with, work with, and employ Ace the Narrator, Schlep, which also means that he's also in close contact with children as well. Schlep has attempted to defend Ace's behavior by either claiming the situation is a lie with no evidence, or once again attempting to claim Ace was a minor when this took place, which that's not a justification. So he's already contradicted himself by saying it's a lie and also saying he was a minor. It's like, yeah, even if he was a minor, he still committed a crime. It's just you have a hole, Schlep, in your philosophy when it comes to predator hunting. You'll attack all predators except for children because you have a soft side for children because you were sexually assaulted as a child. So you have a soft side. Unfortunately, your soft side is the Trojan horse that brings into the nation generational pedophilia, where the child can do all the sexual exploration that they want. But for some reason, you're like, okay, the second they hit 18, they have to put all that up. But how can they put all that up when your boy here, Mr. Ace Narrator, if they end up with a sexual addiction, they're not going to be able to put that up. They're gonna want to hold on to all that. So if they're holding on to all that, well, then guess what? They're in possession of child pornography. So you're just creating a generational loophole. You're saying you're basically you're saying you're cutting down the tree, but you're cutting the branch. And you say, I'm cutting down the tree. See, I'm solving the problem. It's like, no, you're not solving the problem. You're just cutting the branch. while saying you're cutting the tree. The tree is still standing and is still growing. You're just making it look like you're solving the problem when in actuality you're not. Despite knowing about these allegations for several months, okay, I already read that part. Schlep has attempted to defend Ace's behavior, or once again attempting to claim that Ace was a minor when it took place, so therefore it is excusable. No, that's not an excuse. It's still considered federal law. And even if you can't get them federally, ethically, it says you are ethically exposed. This is ironic considering the fact that he claimed what Call Me Carlson did was an illegal when he solicited news from a 17-year-old when he was 19. Yet he continues to work with a serial child porn solicitor openly who has numerous victims. 17. Okay, okay. What is the issue with? So he called this guy a pedophile for like 17 and 18. Well, in terms of the whole, I mean, the person was like, well, what is the context of that? Well, actually, no, there is no context to that. Like, what context would, like, in terms of, like, the 17-year-old and the 19-year-old knowing each other in real life, and their parents knowing each other, and the parents know each other's kids. That's perfectly fine. Now, in terms of internet discourse, that's not perfectly fine because, again, 17-year-old is a minor, and that person's 19, so therefore that's soliciting from a minor. So that would actually, depending on the context of that issue, that would actually fall under the federal law as well, in terms of USC 18, Code 18. So that's not really an argument. So yeah, this is why you should honestly read the document, kids. Schlep. Hey man, I don't know who told you. This is like back in 2025 of August. Not August. The 5th of 21st. Hey man, I don't know who told you what, but I've never said rape. Okay, I wonder what that was before. In the mocking way about Podimer to anyone, especially someone who's worked for me. I have no idea who told you that, but they're lying. Only people I work with is Halloran, Shinzu, and Ace the Narrator. So, okay, that's what I'm saying. He works for Ace the Narrator. I really don't appreciate you making posts like that about me. You could have sent me a message, and I could have told you instantly. My stance has always been that Podimer is weird and deserves being called out, but it's not child rape. Who's Podimer? That's the same stance Ruben Sim has. I think there's a lot worse going on with Roblox as of this moment, and that's why I'm not focusing on a situation like this. I think that's kind of the issue of what happens when, like, the country is so divided. Like, everyone's, like, taking on their own individual roles of tackling the pedophilic problem. Like, black people are taking on the whole, oh, we got to protect black people from, the accusations of the white man because, they're always, accusing us of pedophilia, but then defend someone like P. Diddy. Or, like, white people feel like they're under attack in the US or the UK because, they feel like the politicians have been bought out by the Jewish cabal and they're set out to eliminate and to target the white race. And because they're being targeted, any event that seems like a targeting of like white men, especially if it seems like it's coming from like a political cultural angle, they'll more than likely defend them, kind of like the whole thing of like Dr. Disrespect. Like a lot of people see him from the cultural lens of like, being the positive male role model, but like he kind of shot himself in the foot because he outright admitted that he was trying to meet a minor in TwitchCon and then tried to play it off as some type of 5D chess move. It's like, no, motherfucker, you came out and admitted it. It's like, it doesn't matter whether or not you took this shit back or not. True, man. I was debating with a friend about this lolicon situation. It was exhausting. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the whole issue with the whole lolicon thing. The debate itself is designed to be divisive to begin with. It's not meant to have some type of neutral position. It's designed innately for people to make and take sides in terms of political converse. Because you know how, like, despite the fact, like, lollies did vote for, like, Trump, like, they did side with, like, right-wingers. Like, in most right-wing videos, when, like, a right-winger brings up the concept of lolly, you'll start to notice, like, a lot of lollies do watch right-wingers. And that's because, like, they sounded like the more sensible group of the bunch. But the problem is that once they get what they want, like, that's it. Like, they'll throw you out the bus because, well, you know, what's in it for them? You know, like, what's in it for them protecting Lolly, which is Japanese owned, Japanese exclusive, and financially, what do they get out of it? They don't get anything out of it. That's why I say it, like, it's not about the principle, it's not about the morals, it's about the money. Because I can guarantee you, if Lolly in its majority was made by Seth MacFarlane or some type of white dude in America, these people wouldn't give two shits and a solid fuck. They'd look the other way. Why? Because it's owned by America. And it's parody. So because it's parody, it's perfectly fine. I mean, you got people making art out of those characters, like Family Guy. Like, you got people making Rule 34 art of Meg, Lois, Peter Griffin, Brian, Joe's wife, Cleveland's wife, and Brian literally having sex with Lois and stuff like bestiality. But no one gives two shits to the solid fuck about that. But you'll focus on the whole lolly thing. Like, it's not because it's violating, like, children around the world, but just simply because it's Japanese exclusive and you don't have a share within the market. That's pretty much what it all is. True, the whole freedom of speech and medium. Yeah. Yo, have you heard anything about Ace the Narrator being weird? Apparently some people are going around spreading lies about him. Now, considering his position, you know, online friends and everything, I can understand from his position. Ace is a friend, you know, they're banding together, doing the morally right thing, trying to make the world a better place. But at the same time, like, you're not acknowledging the evidence of the matter. Like, this man was quite literally violating your fucking principle, violating the federal law, violating the bodily autonomy of children, where the girls were outright, like, uncomfortable with the idea of handing him pics, and he was still pressuring them for them. And yet you're siding with them without doing, like, a real depth investigation, which also shows a conflict of interest. Because at this point, why should anyone trust you just because you do good things? Because, you know, it goes back to the whole, you know, that whole saying of be careful when hunting for beasts unless you want to become a beast yourself. You're the hammer and you've deemed everyone around you nails, so you just hammer everyone down except those you favor, despite the fact they look like nails. Spreading lies, he already was bigoted on his stance. Yeah. And like I said, he already contradicted himself, so it's like, you said he said they were spreading lies, but also at the same time they were minors, so therefore it's perfectly fine. So it's like, no, you kind of contradicted yourself. At that point, you acknowledged the crime. You're just saying, well, it's perfectly fine because they're minors. Which is not an excuse. Schlep is seen messaging Parlo on 26th of August 2025, claiming if he heard anything about Ace the Narrator being weird, This proves he was aware of the allegations 4 to 5 months ago as the creation of the document. So he was aware of this. So he is actually doing an investigation. He's just doing kind of a shit investigation. Because when you're dealing with an investigation like this, you cannot do an internal investigation. You have to do an outside investigation. You can't look at the information from inside your political circle, because you've cultivated such a large audience through the friend enemy distinction to the point no one's going to want to snitch on someone that they see as their ally. So if they see that person as their ally, well, then guess what? They're not going to say anything. So if, like, say for instance, right, if I want information on Andrew Tate being a sex pest and trafficking women and children in his sex cam business, I wouldn't go to the right wing for that information. I would go to the middle to left wing for that information. Why? Because through a cultural stance, the right wing, from a defensive standpoint, would defend Andrew Tate because, you know, he's the guy, he's the conservative, quote unquote, talking guy with the conservative talking points, trying to be the male positive role model for young, growing, inspiring young men on getting 6 figures, 6 packs, excuse me, 6 inches, and 6 so on and so forth. Which, be honest, like, don't take advice from people like Andrew Tate. The guy's trying to teach you to be gay. Like, people like Andrew Tate, people like Myron Gaines, Nick Fuentes, like, stay the fuck away from those people. Because they're secretly gay. They're secretly gay men trying to teach you how to be men. Which, at that point, you're already failed as a young man. And I really bleed for young men like that, because it's like, damn, man, like, especially when I was growing up, like, my father figure was literally Goku. Like, I didn't have all these influencers and stuff. Well, I did have, like, my uncle who lived, like, right down the street, because thank God I was born in the fucking 90s, bro. My family, my immediate family was, like, in the jurisdiction. They were in the community. Like, my uncle was, like, right down the street. My classmates from my elementary school was, like, right down the street. My best friend lived, like, a couple of blocks down from me. My father's best friend was not too far from me, and I was friends with his son. And then we had the old man down the road, who would, like, he would, like, occasionally, like, he'll be driving around, he'll see me and my grandma be walking, like, taking the bus to the mall and stuff, and he'll pick us up and take us where we need to go and drop us off and stuff like that. Like, we had, like, a really tight-knit network of, like, having, like, a family unit. And I think that's what's really missing in today's society. Like, we don't have that anymore. We have that online, and the issue with that being online is it's a constant level of trust me, bro, where the only trust factor is do you agree with me on everything? And I think that's creating a lot of anxiety in people like Schlep, but I also believe it's also creating some anxiety in people like ChibiReviews. See it too often. Asmongold did something similar when one of his friends exposed themselves, and suddenly he lost his strong stance that he usually has for people. He just, like, yeah, everybody does that. Like, everybody does that. Everyone, which is why, like, the influencer vigilante position is such a compromised position, which, because you have no one to keep that person in check. You know? It's like, say for instance, like, for me, right? I'm really, like, I don't give 2 shits and solid fuck about Lolly. It's a fictional character. It doesn't exist. It does not violate the bodily autonomy of any citizen that is directly within the realm of reality. And in the event that it does, in terms of correlation of likeness of one another, then I would honestly classify that as CSAM material, because then you're violating that child's bodily autonomy because they could not consent to them being drawn in such a manner, because it's a violation of bodily autonomy. The issue with people like Schlep is that his position isn't on the foundation of that philosophy of bodily autonomy. It's on the philosophy of, I'm a victim, and because I am a victim, you need to be on my side. So ironically, he's taking the Black Lives Matter activist position, where it's because I am a victim of systematic racism, you need to side with me because I am a victim, and anyone who's against me and does not go along with my plan is clearly a racist, neo-Nazi, white supremacist patriarchy. Granted, I can keep calling you that, and we can continue harassing you or stripping you of your finances or punching you, or God forbid, Charlie Kirking you. I don't really need to prove whether or not that you're philosophically following Carl Schmitt or Karl Marx or anyone like Adolf Hitler in terms of National Socialism and using friend-enemy distinction or the big lie technique. I don't need to prove that. The fact that you're just simply white and you're against me is all the proof that I need. Now just replace white with lolly. It's the same argument. I am a victim of grooming, so because I am a victim of grooming, I'm against all forms of child pornography, which he can't be against all forms of child pornography because, well, one, you have a soft side for children, and then two, you've already entered the space where your brain has subconsciously normalized the idea of children having sex. So you're a liability. So we can't trust you. Matter of fact, no one should trust you. The fact people trust you is kind of concerning because that just kind of goes to show you, despite the fact the whole country yells, protect the children, philosophically, no one has the grounds, the foundation laid down in terms of protecting children. They're just kind of all over the place. Let's see. These are screenshots of YouTube. Okay, like different videos. Yeah, still saying that he's associated with Ace the Narrator. Numerous videos where Ace the Narrator has voiced acted for, collaborate with Schlep. His clients. And this is proof right here on his Discord where Schlep is still following Ace the Narrator. Schlep was still being Discord mutual to Ace the Narrator on the 14th of February 2026. Schlep probably knew this, that his associate attempted and on numerous occasions received child pornography. And okay, so here's my question: when did he like sign him up? I think this wasn't like, I don't think this was like during the time he was doing it. I think this was like before the time. I hope. I kind of hope. But received child pornography and chose to not call them out, but instead in private claimed it all to be lies to cover up for the extent of how deprived his associate was. Schlep knew the situation for numerous months and chose nothing to do nothing. Let's see. Schlep, why did your friend attempt to solicit CP from an ID verified 11-year-old when he was 14 or 15, and then he deleted his messages where he admitted to speaking to an alleged 13-year-old when he was 16? So you just made up something about someone who works for me to label me a predator defender. No, you are a predator defender. Because you just exposed your philosophy. Your philosophy is children can, in fact, engage with exchanging nude pics with each other. And again, in previous live streams, I said the same thing too, but that was arguing from a cultural standpoint of me being ignorant, and I'm willing to correct the record on that. And that's the difference between me and you. I'm willing to actually admit when I make a mistake, and I want to make this abundantly clear to chat and anybody who's watching this later on in the future. Take what I say with a grain of salt. I don't know everything. I'm just giving you my best opinion on what I see and what I notice. I can notice a lot of things, but there can be some things I can omit. Because again, I'm human. As much as I try to have an unbiased opinion, I can be biased in some cases. So take that with a grain of salt. But again, you've already exposed that you are a predator defender because you violated your own principle that children can engage in exchanging news with each other. Carlo was seen having brought Ace the Narrator's allegations up to Schlep, to which he claimed was made up in response. Schlep also directly admits that he still actively works with Ace the Narrator. Okay, so he still actively works with Ace the Narrator. Okay, so this is the part where I read when I thought it was at the beginning. I didn't read this part. I apologize. And this is Yo-Yo. I don't know who the hell Yo-Yo is. Does it say... Greta was seen consulting Ace the Narrator on his interactions with the user named Lowly, confirming the fact that they did in fact have contact with one another in 2020. It was also established that all of Lowly's messages were deleted on her end. I apologize, it was not a ticket, but a DM report. I censored the name of the staff who got this report. Arx is the person who reported it to us. Those were the portrayed victims. I don't know what those image files are. And this is Grady. All right, I see here. So they're trying to say there are 4 of them. Correct, from Yo-Yo. But the one that had the age gap 15 and 11, the 11-year-old, that victim did not exist, and there is no record of them in the document. Okay, so that person didn't exist. The other age gaps were false. Well, I read the document that was linked, and logically, based on process of elimination, the 15 and 11 one had to have been in reference to someone named Lowly, unless you're thinking of someone else. Okay, so we're just still going through the evidence. I honestly don't remember who Lowly is, but I can confirm that conversations about her were false, especially this one because I still talk to this guy. Conversation never happened. Okay, so I was able to do some digging, but since you guys are bringing me some really important info, do you still have DMs with Lowly to check and see if she's even real? Here you have the ages for Dolly, Shorty, and Ace. Because someone who got, and then I got the images right here, because someone who got in contact with me connected me with me as they claim to be Lowly. So she claims to be Lowly. And I need to know if she's real. And Grady says, right, can I have her Discord ID? And then Ace the Narrator, I guess he gives the ID, he censors it. Reason, victim. Okay, so I cross-referenced, and this person indeed exists. So he's confirming that the person does exist. So my question now is that apparently you were having conversations with her at 14 when she was 11, 14 or 15 when she was 11. So he has confirmed that she did exist. Did you know about her age? And the messages exchanged were sexual, might I add. Because the thing you forwarded, Guamgo, doesn't seem to highlight here. And he says, I don't see any conversation about admittance to age, which is him deflecting. Okay, so she claims you knew she was 11, and she deleted a lot of messages because initially she wasn't planning on wanting to talk about this, it looks like. Because regardless of the fact of the age that's being disclosed, right? You're pressuring a girl or a woman for nudes online when they don't want to do that. Which I'm pretty like, irregardless of that being underage or not, like that's something Schlep should honestly take into consideration because again, this ain't the first time like predator channels have had infiltrations in their own fucking communities. Like I talk about the whole thing with the whole Gideon thing and EDP. And then there was that one guy who I forgot his name. He had a partner when they were doing the whole predator hunter thing, and turns out he was also a predator as well. Like there is quite literally a weakness within the vigilante argument or the vigilante angle. Way I see it, if I was the morality police, messing with pre-adolescent kids, even as a teenager, is a big no. 13 and 16 isn't too bad, but it's still problematic. They're all kids at the end of the day. Yeah. Like I said, like in terms of like analyzing it through academic DSM-5 pedophilic disorder, it doesn't really fit the bill. It's just a 3-year gap. But that's a high schooler probably going into junior having sexual relations with someone in middle school. Like in that environment, you look like a pedophile. Like in that environment, you dead ass look like a pedophile. But I wouldn't say he's a pedophile. I would honestly say he's a creep. But I would definitely say because of his sexual addiction, he does have a porn addiction. He does look like he has a porn addiction. He honestly does need the mental help, because if he doesn't get the mental help, well, then guess what? Schlep literally has a ticking time bomb on his hands. And just like how they argue with the whole, oh, those with like mental health issues who consume porn, they crave for stronger things. The problem is it's a truth, but it's a half truth. The truth is it's only does that for people with mental health problems, and they use porn as a coping mechanism for those negative behaviors that they can't deal with. Those are the people you need to be concerned about. For those who don't have that, where they have healthy sexual relationships and they're comfortable with themselves, and they're not using porn as a coping mechanism, those are the people I'm not too worried about, because they're the ones with healthy sex drives, and they're more sexually controlled than the person who's using porn as a coping mechanism. Probably my kids shouldn't be taking part of the act to begin with. Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, so he confirmed that that person does it. Okay, that was the bottom. This was due to my sexual. Yeah, I was right. Ace did have sexual addictions, because I was used to girls just not wearing bras in pornography I watch. Wait, what? This was due to my sexual addiction because I was used to girls just not wearing bras in pornography I watched. Like, were you just watching like sample clips where they just got like right to the fucking and they're just like naked or some shit? Like, because I don't know, like, me being a porn connoisseur and everything, like, generally, I like watching the beginning, where, they're having a little conversation, You know, they give the little background. So you watch CSAM? Well, he was exchanging CSAM, and considering he was a minor, he is openly admitting that yes, he was a minor, openly watching pornography. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. It's like, yeah, he was committing a federal crime, but at the same time, like, he also was committing other crimes, but he also committed, like, well, not committed, but he also, like, adopted a mental disease in the event of the porn. And I think that's like why Schlep defends him, because he sees him more as a victim to porn than like an outlier, if that makes any sense. You know, it's kind of like look at it from the systematic oppression versus black people minority narrative, right? Like, if a black person openly fights against the narrative that systematic racism, you shouldn't let that hold you back, that person's automatically a white supremacist. And that person's a coon and a tap dancer. But in the event that, like, one of your people ends up, you know, they're doing the whole song and dance saying, you know, systematic racism is real. We need to band together as all minorities against white people and stomp the oppressor and dismantle white cis patriarchal society and stuff like that. You know, the whole spiel. And then an event comes out, let's say, for instance, like, that activist, like a black woman, is married to a white man. Like, the news finally comes out, like, she's actually married to a white dude. They'll automatically go into defense mode, because it's like, well, I mean, yes, all white people are evil, but, you know, this white person, he's actually one of the good ones, because, well, he openly admitted that, you know, he benefited from white supremacy, and he's using his white privilege in order for him to take down the system that he benefited from. So we have to work with him. You know, he's kind of doing the whole spiel. He's doing that whole spiel. Like, yeah, one of my guys is like a sex freak, but I don't see him as a sex freak. I see him as a victim of the system. Like, he's a victim of the system. Just like how the black activist would look at the black woman married to a white dude and say, well, that's just a victim of the circumstance, where she is justified in dating and marrying a white dude because there are no black men for her to date, because all the black men for her are either gay, and that's mostly on the left, effeminate, or very emasculated. So to her, and in terms of emasculation, like, the emasculation really is on the left with black men. But, like, in terms of, like, pseudo emasculation, to her, like, a conservative black man is an emasculated man, when in fact that's actually a man. So to her, a masculine man is an emasculated man. She just doesn't know how to tell, but she sides with the white supremacist, which would actually be the emasculated man, because he got his power not because of his merit, but because of his race. Sees that as masculine because he has the financial power to make her political goals a reality. If that makes any sense. So yeah, he was a sex addict. Speaking of which, did you ask her to recommend what kind of porn you should watch, right? And he said, yes, I did. So Ace asked her for wait. You did ask her to recommend. Okay, so he asked her for recommendations on what porn to watch. A 15-year-old asking an 11-year-old what porn. Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Grady reiterates that Loli claimed Ace the Narrator knew she was 11 during sexual messages. Ace the Narrator is seen not denying that he asked to see Loli and a bra, however, stated in response, unless you don't wear them. Ace the Narrator also does not deny the fact he knew Chloe was below the age of 13 during their messages, as she was banned from his server for being underage. Ace the Narrator also confirms that he did ask Lily for porn to recommend him to watch. So why did you try to put your addictions onto an 11-year-old? Right now, it doesn't seem like you're even denying she's 11 unless you can clarify for me. I am currently denying it. Okay, so given that literally every other age that has been presented has been a lie. Grady highlights how Ace, a narrator, is not even denying the fact that she was 11. Ace then responds that he is currently denying. Grady, sure, but I presented to you, and I have no reason to lie here, that once you have become 13, you can come back. So he actually knows what age. So he knows she's not 13. So she's under the age 13. Was a message you sent. I don't know how that doesn't give any red flags that you knew the age. That doesn't necessarily mean I know exactly what it means. And this is Ace, but I knew it was near 13. So you knew she was under 13. So it still doesn't matter. But she wasn't 13. My point is that when you found out she was banned from that server for being underage, you still attempted to ask for nudes. Yes, but again, you was 14. So he's using his age as an excuse, as a barrier, which he can't use it as a barrier because, again, minors cannot consent to that kind of stuff. I know, right? Unless you don't wear them, surely makes it better. It's like, yeah, you also know who else doesn't wear bras? Girls that haven't developed yet. Just saying. Just saying. Okay, let's see. Ace the Narrator was seen using the plausible deniability card and claiming that he knew she was not 13, but that she was near the age. Grady brings up how Ace requested CSAM content from her after she was banned for being below the age of 13, to which Ace the Narrator admits and does not deny. Even if you were 14, it's still legal to ask for nudes because it is child pornography, and any Romeo and Juliet law would not exempt you either because, yeah, that is true. I actually did a research on that. In terms of Romeo and Juliet, it's only for like physical encounters. Romeo. Did I spell it right? I think it was on another tweet I had. Hold on. What's that thing I said? But Romeo and Juliet laws. Not exempt you either. Does Romeo and I can spell chat. Trust me, I really can. It's just like it's 8 o'clock and it's just like Jesus Christ. I don't see how people can do this. Laws exempt online intercourse with minors. Let's say that. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah. So he's right. Federally and lawfully, it does not exempt that. And even so, you asked on multiple occasions and tried to work around it. There is no exemption here, to my knowledge. My own nudes would be CP. Right. So now you're admitting that you're sending CP of yourself to other people. And then Yo-Yo chimes in, I do want to note this, that this can be interpreted differently depending on perspective. He's talking about what Grady said one time. You asked her if you could see her in a bra, and said unless you don't wear one. Okay, what's the different perspective on that? I don't get it. Grady, you never sent nudes to her, and she sent none to me. That is weird. And then Grady says, thank God she didn't. So he's making the claim that she didn't send anything to him. Thank God she didn't, but asking for them still follows under the umbrella. Which, yes, because at that point, you're asking and you're pressuring and you're coercing someone to send you something illegally. So at that point, you're still enticing a minor to do something. Like, I don't understand how he doesn't get this. Federal law dictates that. I have a quote from thegovernment.com. Any person who employs, uses, persuades, induces, entices, or coerces any minor to engage in sexual activity can be followed in a court of law. And he says, Grady, could you give the link to the specific page as well? And he says, yes, I could. Cornell Law, and he gives the page. And then Yo-Yo says, yeah, okay, I see what you mean. I cannot see them stating any specific definition of person, which is stupid, as they might do in other cases. They usually define specific words and laws to clarify what they mean. There is the one for that chapter. Okay, so based on the one true victim that there is, although no material was shared, but no others from then on, what happens next? Grady clarifies that it is still illegal for Ace to be attempted to solicit CSAM consent from Loli when she was 11, despite the fact that Ace never received any. Yeah, because you were still enticing a minor. Like, you're trying to persuade a minor for sexual content. You dead ass tried to persuade a minor for sexual content. Or has a minor assist any other person to engage in or who transport any minor in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce or in territory possession in the United States, illicit conduct for the purpose of producing any visual depiction of such conduct, or for the purpose of transmitting a live visual depiction of such conduct, shall be punished as provided under subsection E if the person blah 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 visual depiction blah 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 in comparison to affecting into foreign have been mailed. If that visual depiction was, well, that's the thing. It has to be the visual depiction. Like, you can't get them with the visual depiction, but you can hit them for enticing a minor online. Because that's pertaining for visual depiction. Like, yes, there was persuasion, but he didn't get it. So in terms of like a quarter law, based on what I know, I think that would fail, but he would actually get hit for like enticing a minor, trying to solicit for a minor. Wait, I just noticed something weird about the supposed 11-year-old, the way they talk and their knowledge, proper grammar, good vocabulary, and knowledge of child pornography. She is 11, there's no question about it. Do you mind me asking how you guys verified it? She sent scribbled pictures to protect most of her identity, the 2 types of ID verification to verify her age and name. I deliberately went over a lot with her and others to make sure there wasn't much contradiction. Grady confirms that Loli was in fact 11 in 2020, as it showed him a censored ID with the date of birth in 2025. With her date of birth in 2020. Wait, what? You mean 2005? Hold on, wait. So she's 11 in 2020, but she has a state ID with her birthday in 2025. What? That doesn't make any sense. Am I missing something? Because in 2020, she's 11. And then 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So then 2027, she'll be 18. How's her birthday in 2025? Like birth. Like you're saying birth? Like when she was born? Yeah, she's still a minor. Yeah, he's 20 and she's like 17. Let me recount again. 11, 21, 22, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. 2027. Yeah, in 2027, she'll be 17. It's 2026. So she's either 16 or 15. So he's 20. It fits the pattern that I'm noticing with him. He's always dating like 4 years younger than him. Which is kind of weird because that means he has a preferred age preference. That is kind of sus. Yeah, like I said, I like take this shit to the cops. But then again, you know, cops ain't gonna really do anything about this right now because it's like the reality of online is vastly different from the reality of like offline, which is a shame because that just implies that a lot of people online can get away with a lot of shit. Unless that shit hits mainstream and then they really can't get away with it. But like if it doesn't blow up that hard to the point where it hits mainstream, that like, yeah, they kind of get away with it. That's why with like the whole Hassan thing shocking, you know, his dog. Like if it didn't hit mainstream news, like he would have got away with it. But it was so controversial to the point to where everyone was talking about that shit. Like he could not sweep that, like at all. Ace states that his date of birth is September 5th, 2005. I mean, are you willing to show groups? Yada yada yada. I never seen you horny before. Well, I'm very horny currently, and you caused it. How do you feel? Oh, wow, really guilty of person. This is the kind of shit that I formulate in my head when I'm watching hentai, and just kind of keeping it to myself in terms of a fantasy role. But like saying that to a person, I cannot imagine saying that to a person. I just can't. You may, unless it's like my significant other and like fucking with her, you know, it's like you made me horny, so what are you gonna do about it, you know? But like saying it to someone that you have no physical contact with, you have no understanding of, and like no connection whatsoever, it's so like no establishment, like nothing. It's so off the wall. It's such fatherless behavior. Being a waiter back then had consequences. Some girls' big brother would check you, or a teacher would warn you to stay away. Yeah, yeah. But unfortunately, we don't live in a world like that anymore. Unfortunately, it's all right. Take your time. Might as well ask this while I'm at it. What about your bra? Okay, what about the bra is also a no unless you don't wear them. You send you send what? I have no idea what the hell that is. That is so weird. Uh excuse me. Ace the Narrator was saying throughout September 2020, engaging in inappropriate conversations with Loli, who was ID'd verified to have been 11 at the time. Ace, after turning 15 September 2020, was still seen requesting and pushing Loli to send CSAM of herself, which is still a crime. A 15-year-old requesting to see sexually explicit content from an 11-year-old girl is illegal because that's soliciting a minor, and enticing a minor online, that is illegal. Because it has to be illegal, because isn't that what Schlep does in terms of like prosecuting pedophiles? So yeah, that is illegal. A 15-year-old requesting to see sexually explicit content is illegal, absolutely reprehensible, regardless of the fact that the offending party was also a minor at the time, and regardless of the fact that they received the material or not. Because hey, that's how some of the pedophiles that these guys end up incarcerating get incarcerated for, even though despite the fact they didn't receive anything. The age gap dynamic between them is disparaging. That is true, because that's like 4 years on the borderline, and he shows a very consistent pattern of that. Of like that 4-year gap. Like he's really like trained on that 4-year gap. You stalk my Instagram and contact my mother. You deserve no respect. Swiggy. Says the one who asked an 11-year-old for nudes at 15, and I didn't know what else to do. Sin, I don't contact my family. Don't contact my family again, will you? I seen the screenshot the Lolly situation, which is, yeah, that's like the tables have turned. The Lolly situation, and the age gap between them was known for many years. And that was today. Okay, and whose information is this? Okay, so that's the date of birth, 10/21/2008. So that would have to be Loli's, right? Oh no, wait, this is somebody else. This is somebody else, chat. Oh god. This document shows irrefutable evidence that Abigail, the 11-year-old that Ace was messaging, was in fact born in 2008 when their messages took place in 2020. 8, 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah. Yeah, I still count with my fingers, chat. Don't judge me. This document shows irrefutable evidence of Abigail, the 11-year-old that Ace was messaging, was in fact born in 2008 when their messages took place in 2020. Her ID represented and yeah, is blurred, right? So you don't want to dox her. Blame Canada, blame Canada. Ace the Narrator is seen directly referencing the 11-year-old girl as Abigail. That's creepy, Abigail. Abigail. That I thought of Abigail and you said you were. Okay, so he was talking to someone named Abigail. Ace the Narrator. From voiceover guy to producer to director. Oh, okay. Take all the time you need. How so? What headset are you getting? Jesus Christ, $150. That's more than my Blue Yeti and my budget earphones. Oh, why? What? Oh, yeah, sorry, mate. Once you become 13, you can come back. I don't know if that's soon or not. Kinda. Yeah, alright. So, okay, so he knows that this person is not 13. As the narrator is seen openly. This is why I don't open it. Well, I have a Discord, I just don't fucking use it. Because this kind of crap, it's too much to fucking manage. I don't want to deal with it. Like the only people on my Discord is like my close work friends from back when, and we haven't posted anything in that bitch since 2022. Like I don't know. I cannot operate a Discord. I just can't. It's too much trouble. As the narrator is seen openly referring to Abigail as being below the age of 13 by picking up context clues, it is likely he knew her age. And this is Ace the Narrator talking to someone. True, very true. I've only seen your face and I doubt it. I think it's very cute. Hehe. So, are you willing to what? So this is another 11-year-old girl back in 2020. So he did this with two when he was 14 and 15. Well, if you want to send it, go ahead. But if you don't, then that's all right too. I just want to know what my boundaries are. You can't turn on your light or go to the bathroom, etc. Oh man, all right, worth a shot. Anyways, with my interests, quote unquote, now in mind, what are the boundaries? I mean, are you willing to show boob? That's kind of like my only interest because I'm not kinky. Yeah, I thought so. Okay, yeah, those are the previous ones. Yeah. Wait a minute. Page 18. Wasn't that with the lowly chick? Where you said, yeah, I'm into that. Hold on, page 18, right? Because I'm starting to see copy, but like different screenshot color. Uh, yeah, find the one that says interest. Okay, let's go to the top. It feels like a copy. Because I feel like I just said the same thing. I remember saying that back up here. This flip. I guess not. I feel like I read that up here. That is weird. Yeah, that's weird. I feel like I read that before. Okay. Ace the Narrator was seen further attempting solicited images. Here is a video proving legitimacy of the catalog. Ace the Narrator video evidence Google Drive. Is where do I just click this? Okay, so first of all, let me take this over here just to make sure we're not looking at anything too egregious.
Okay, so this is me copying it and then pasting it, and like here, like throughout all the history, you can hear you or see him calling me lolly.
Okay, so nothing too egregious, thankfully. Yeah, she actually has the history of him calling her lolly. So
So
yeah, that's confirmed.
okay, so this is him talking about nudes and stuff, and hold on, user ID.
So can I use you? Wow. Jesus Christ, this country is going to hell in a handbasket. Irregardless of all the fucking predator hunters, this place is going to hell. Tell me about it. Servers are so hard to maintain peace. Tell me about it. Robot predators friends with a robot predator hunter. Damn ironic. I'm telling you, man. Like, I don't trust nobody. Like, I like ChibiReviews, but even I don't trust them. And not because like I think he's evil. It's just because I maintain that old internet premise of you're a goddamn stranger and I don't know who the fuck you are. You know. And I think that's kind of like I think that's kind of like what we need to go back to, because back then, like on the internet, like everyone had that premise on their mind, like, you know, you was a stranger, like I can't just automatically trust you. But in nowadays, like trust is so easily earned because so many people feel isolated, or they're trying to find someone, like they feel either isolated or they feel attacked by some unforeseen force. And the only way to feel like they're no longer attacked, they have to find some type of in group in order for them to like gel with that person or to gel with that group. But the admission to get in that group is so low that all you need to do is talk and dance the same moves and the same language that they do, and you're just automatically in. I was a big Chibi fan too, man. I don't know if viewers. I don't do servers. I don't do servers. like let me explain my position. I play Genshin Impact, but I don't do the community crap because I know those people are crazy. So I know to separate myself from them, you know? You know, I'm like the black person that separates from BLM, you know? I'm the gay guy that separates from the LGBTQ rainbow mafia, you know? I know how crazy those people can get. He's changed a lot over the last 6 years. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, again, he's a stranger on the internet. I treat everybody as a stranger on the internet, bro. Like I said, like, and then like a lot of social economical issues are happening to the point where a lot of people are unhinged. A lot of people are going to be freaking unhinged. So there's no telling what's happening with people nowadays. And this one's not happening. Okay, that's fine. Discord mobile screen recording of Ace Narrator's DMs. Okay, it's just the same thing. Schlep belittling the Podimer situation, which is kind of funny, him being a predator hunter. Throughout 2025, Podimer was called out to large extents for having orally raped a 12-year-old in 2022 when he was 16. Podimer also had an extensive history of posting pornography and not safe for work in Discord servers, where numerous 13-year-olds were present inside of when he was 16 and 17. Podimer also continued to engage with the same minor he sexually assaulted when she was 14 and he was 18, further being seen engaging in sexual-based topics with her in DM. Schlep actively knew about the situation, yet refused on numerous circumstances to use his platform to call Podimer out because, again, they wear the same coat, therefore they're on the same team, and therefore they can't call each other out because that's being a turncoat, and in terms of my people's terminology, that's being a house Negro. So keep your tap dancing to a minimum, is what they say. You know what all this kind of reminds me of? Hold on. Let me find it real quick. Let me type this. There it is. Oh, this reminds me of.
You're a savage. You're a maniac. You are a bandit, and I am the goddamn hero.
Oh god, that's what that what kind of reminds me of what this whole situation is. Like everyone's just handsome Jack at this point. You're the maniac, you're the bandit, and I'm the goddamn hero, you know. Jesus Christ. Let's see. Schlep actively into the situation, yada yada yada. So he doesn't want to snitch on Podimer, despite the fact that they're quite literally having sexual relations with a minor. Hey man, I don't know who told you what blah 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 yada yada yada. Okay, so that was from before. My stance has always been that Podimer is weird and deserves being called out, but it's not child rape. It's not child rape for a 16-year-old to be receiving a blowjob from a 12-year-old? I don't know, man. That's a weird stance. But I'll let you explain it. I mean, I think there's a lot worse going on with Roblox. So he's using the whole Roblox issue as an excuse not to really pay attention to it because it's minor to him, but when it comes to Roblox, it's a bigger situation. Because it's adults tangling with minors, but minors can tangle with minors. Because that's his whole philosophy. If you want to hop on a call and have a conversation about it later, I'm more than willing to. I made a tweet talking about how I felt about regarding people defending Podimer, and this is long ago, by the way. The person I spoke to often mentioned that you were making efforts to defend Podimer and mocked the videos calling him out. They were also super adamant on you saying the specific phrase, "it's rape," in a mocking tone, which really pissed me off considering Podimer's mother has been basically spreading misinformation and doxing both Parlo and myself for a solid month now, from what I understand. Wow, they even got the mother on us. Jesus Christ. From what I understand, but then again, I'm not surprised. I mean, this is kind of like female behavior at this point. From what I understand, the situation qualifies as statutory child rape. The victim was 12 years old, and the general minimum age for a minor and minor sexual interactions to even be considered potentially legal is 14. But that wasn't the case here, as Podimer was 16 and the victim was 12. The tweet I made didn't reference any YouTubers because I didn't want to discredit any videos that you made, and I didn't want to confront you earlier since I was told not to mention it anymore. Mention it to anyone. I've also heard about Ruben and Trav, in relation to the situation, but from what I've heard, neither of them were accused of mocking it. Trav actually helped a lot since he was involved in gathering evidence and even got recordings of Podimer trying to silence the victim. Also, sorry for the late response. Wasn't at my computer. Okay, well, the only dude that it could have been that works for me that just told me that he doesn't even know or talk to you. I've never once defended Podimer's actions. I've always called it weird. You just did. You said your stance has always been Podimer's weird, but it doesn't deserve to be child rape, so that's a offense. I've always called it weird, but in reality, the reality of it is not a single DA would never take a case like that. Oh, so, wait, what? Why wouldn't they take a case like that? Huh? So you saying a DA wouldn't take the case of a 16-year-old receiving oral sex from a 12-year-old? And it definitely ain't the Romeo and Juliet laws. I'm pretty sure that's not the case. Okay, he's gonna have to explain that one. This is coming from someone who has gotten arrests in the state where this took place. Okay, so your logic is because it happened in a state where the arrests won't take the prosecutions won't take place, there's no point of talking about it? That's your argument? Yeah, and that's his defense. His defense is it's not child rape, despite, again, children cannot consent. Sex. Like, that is rape. Like, Jesus Christ. Schle was seen directly claiming that Podimer engaging in oral sex with a 12-year-old girl when he was 16 was not child rape. And then at that point, that is, what is up with these 4-year age gaps, bro? Like, I remember back then when I was in high school, like, that was a reason why I didn't hang out with like the hood kids, because there was this concept. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's probably called something. I know it's like called cracking eggs in terms of the modern sense, but like back when I was in high school, it used to be called rocking the cradle. So, like I don't know what is up with like people's fascination of like fucking people back in like middle school and like they're in dead ass high school. Like it doesn't make any sense, bro. Like that just does not make any. That's a weird. That's like a weird Andrew Tate type of preference of like go younger, go younger, go younger. You know. Schlep follows a principle where he will not intervene in any grooming or pedophilia-oriented situation if both parties were minors at the time. That is true, because that is a flaw in his philosophy. He is complicit in covering these situations up, even if there were evident examples of groomer-like abusive criminal behavior. It is especially more concerning that Schlep actively withheld on making a video on Podimer and subtly belittled what he did, as this led way to Podimer continuing to make content on the platform after justified criticism against him eventually died down. Podimer, despite having been a minor during the essay that took place in June 2022, then continued to sexually engage with his victim until he was 18 and she was 14. Which at that point, that's grooming. They discussed topics to do with sex in DMs, as well as Podimer suggesting and grooming the girl to idea of getting back into a relationship and living with each other. This man was like dead ass fucking grooming. And fucking Schlep is defending it. Queen, you're thinking I'm gonna have sex even though I'm deadly afraid of sex? I got it. It's fucking e-sex, bro. I don't think I could have sex. We were to live together, given the chances of us falling in love again are most likely. This past year, you've had e-sex with 3 different guys, with one. Well, you're a hoe, you can have sex with me. Like that's quite literally his argument. They were having sex and we had sex with the wait, what? What do you mean by that? Okay, what is the context around that? No, I'm having sex. Podimer, Okay, so this is somebody else. This is the victim. Blank you two for not trying sex. Now, if I didn't take you seriously, this would have been a different story, right? Excuse me. The story has already been unfolded. The unserious route. You gave me advice like I have 10 boyfriends, like I had sex and did intercourse. I'm guessing that's what that is. I don't know what that is. Or did it carelessly. YK what even wanted sex with them, but you couldn't get what you wanted, and you were around my age, so something, nobody's better or worse here. So like I said earlier, fuck off and go sleep. I apologize to them, and this part's censored. These DMs were screenshotted when Queen, the victim, screenshot her DMs of Parlo in January 2025. Most of these messages were sent in late July 2024 when Podimer would have been 18. His date of birth is June 23rd, 2006. Podimer has exhibited the exact behavioral mannerisms of a groomer, which quite literally he has, as the openly conditioned his victim into the idea of being in a relationship again and living together when he was 18 and she was 14. This is an adult taking advantage of a minor, and Schlep turned a blind eye to the situation, which, again, this is why I don't trust predator channels. Any sign of honestly, these people need to be arrested. Schlep needs to be arrested. Schlep needs to be arrested, and his goons need to be arrested too. And that brand of his needs to be tarnished. Schlep has actively called out against adults engaging inappropriately with minors, which have smaller age gaps, such as Notiv, who had a 2-year, 10-month age gap. But like, what's the context around that? Because if we're talking like online discourse, again, it still falls within the pretenses of sexually enticing a minor. So that's not really an argument. But in the event, are we talking about like physical contact where, you know, the two individuals know each other and the two individuals' parents know each other? That can be excused in terms of Romeo and Juliet laws. And to be honest, it's not that big of a gap because at that point it's physical, so we don't have to worry about it. Killer Bean, they don't believe in what they're doing, only in it for money. Yeah, exactly. It's just financial benefit. That's all it is. They don't really believe it. They're just in it for money. And like teaming up with like Chris Hansen, who quite literally, if you look at his records in terms of his conviction rates, 80% of his arrests were not even convictions. Like, you really want to know what I think with the whole Predator Hunter thing? It's a combination of money, clout, attention, and the worst part, being able to kill whoever the hell you want. Because a lot of people within, like, you know, Predator Hunter channels, like, when you look at their comments, it's kind of disturbing. Like, a lot of people are just ready to just kill people. Like, I can understand the idea, like, you know, this grown-ass adult harming a little girl or a little boy. I do understand that. But you shouldn't let the act itself drive you to the point of insanity, to the point to where you become a damn dog yourself. Like, learn how to control yourself. Still to this day, Schlep has not publicly called out Podimer a proven pedophile, despite being a child safety advocate, while also at the same time not calling out Ace the Narrator. These people are always surrounded by pedophiles, I swear to God. After all, however, as Schlep stated, I think there's a lot worse going on for Roblox, and that's why I'm not focusing on a situation like this. Right. Because in his head, he is the hammer of justice. And the hammer of justice says the bigger issue is Roblox. But in terms of issues where my own ilk is sexually assaulting minors, that's not really a concern because they're my people. But what's his philosophical understanding as to why he could look the other way? Well, they're children, just like he was a child. This is why, honestly, he should quit, because a person with trauma is not a good fit in a position of doing something that they're taking down, because clearly there is a major gap in his philosophy. And his hole in his philosophy is all the predators will die, except the children, because the children should openly be able to share nude pictures with each other, despite the fact that that's literally child pornography, and that the company, if that becomes large scale, is quite literally hosting and storing large databases of child pornography within their Discord servers, which then they could then peddle that to brokers outside of the Discords, which then opens up another avenue to solicit more child pornography. It gets out of hand when private citizens start taking the law into their own hand. Was it some university students who baited Yeah, I remember that one, Keller. I remember that one. It was some guy who got catfished to go to a university on a date. The guy catfished that he was 18. And I think the guy was 20. And he went to the university. And they said he was and they did the whole pedophiles thing, saying he was a pedophile. And I forgot the whole outcome to that one. I think they tried to kill the guy. But I think he either fought back or he was running away, because it was like, hey, those people are fucking crazy. It's like, how do you call someone a pedophile while catfishing as an 18-year-old? Like, what the fuck? It's like, dude, like considering the rise of like fatherless children, and the fact that, people like Schlep is looking to the internet as a replacement father for their attention that he never gotten. It's sad, but at the same time, it's like, no, man, you're a piece of shit. It's sad, but it's like you're a piece of shit. It's like kind of like the whole Hitler thing. It's like, yeah, we understand, like, Hitler was trying to make Germany better, and, he hated the fact that he lived in a country that was surrounded by people that hated the country. I can understand that. But your actions still make you a fucking demon. And you need to be dealt, because you're a demon trying to masquerade as an angel. Schlep being contradictory to Parlo. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of debating on making a video about the dupe situation. I probably am. I'm not going to call you a pedophile or anything in it, but I want to talk about the whole situation. Sure, me and a friend are working on making a document on dupe shutting down many of the points him and the username 77 had made, which are demonstrably false. Not gonna lie, I might kind of flame you in it a bit. You definitely deserve some heat for that. You low-key retarded for getting into a relationship with someone you don't even know. So he knows. He knows Parlo was fucking with a minor. That you don't even know what they look like or sound like, but I'm gonna shut down the pedophile stuff people are saying. He's not gonna call him a pedophile, but he's gonna shut down the pedophile accusations. Interesting. I haven't seen anyone call me a pedophile for like 2 days preceding the response video, and most of it was projecting pyrocynical fans. Man, this seems like it's a never-ending spiral. Also, I went over how Duke used fake images and selfies. The catfish people saw was manipulated into believing they looked completely different. Let's see. Paulo's an idiot for this, don't get me wrong, but calling him a pedophile is a giant stretch. I feel bad that the other person developed an elaborate lie about their age, and once Paulo found out, he cut contact. As far as I know as well, no nudes were ever exchanged legally, but you were enticing a minor, which is the funny part. It's funny how these people are so focused on the idea of like, and that's the funny hypocrisy about it too. They're so focused on the idea that images weren't exchanged, but it's like, isn't your whole shtick busting people despite the fact that you're not exchanging images? It's the idea of meeting up with that person, the intent of actually meeting up with that minor to have sexual relations with them, not the exchanging of photos. That's kind of a contradiction in his philosophy. I feel bad even when it's sticking the neck out for me in the slightest, and I appreciate it, and I really don't wish for you to continue regardless, because what I did does render me a liability. I don't want to have you feel like you need to do this or defend me like I had put myself under the red target by doing it to Netherix. Paulo's an idiot for this, don't get me wrong, but calling him a pedophile predator is a giant stretch. Again, a minor having sex with a minor is not an excuse. Children cannot consent. But in your mind, because you are a victim, you have normalized the idea that children can consent. And that is the flaw in your philosophy, Schlep. You're a predator hunter that says adults cannot, under no circumstances, have sex with children, which is correct. Because the core philosophy of bodily autonomy is that children cannot consent to these things with adults because they don't have a fundamental understanding of what they're getting into in terms of physical and mental capabilities and issues later down the line. But because you're a victim of your own circumstances, you have conditioned yourself into thinking children can consent to having sex. They can just consent with other children. Even if it is online, and even if it is against federal crime. Schlep was seen publicly and privately defending Parlo for the Dupe situation. He stated below Parlo was not a pedophile and a groomer. He also affirmed that Dupe consistently lied about his age and that legally there is no crime here. Okay, then what was the age? You're just saying they lied about the age. Okay, what is the age? I'm not calling him a pedophile. I'm just calling out he's irresponsible. Yeah, fair. Most of the dialogue related to the people calling him a pedophile is not even really the case. No. What is the lie? Like, what is that guy's age? Like, what is that? What is her age? Like, you're just saying the age is a lie. Despite actively defending Parlo in public for the Dupe situation, establishing how Dupe developed an elaborate lie about an age, when Parlo was receiving increased scrutiny, Schlep jumped ship to save face and was seen completely doing a 180 in his messages to Parlo, claiming, "I find it hard to believe you were tricked." Oh, so then now he's trying to save face. Now he's saying, "I find it hard to believe that you were tricked." This is despite numerous screenshots proving that Dupe consistently lied about his age and catfish people, and Schlep knew about this. Schlep went from publicly stating that Dupe made an elaborate lie about the age to privately demeaning Parlo when his credibility was tarnished and stating directly to him an extremely contradictory stance. "I find it hard to believe that you were tricked into dating a child." Exactly. Because it's not about the principle, it's about the money. It's literally about the money. Because, like, let's talk about my philosophy, right? My philosophy is easy. Anybody can follow it. Anyone with, like, sound mind can follow my philosophy. And that philosophy is the concept of bodily autonomy. And that every citizen, even dumbasses like this guy, is granted bodily autonomy until they have shown that they have violated the bodily autonomy of other people, which he has clearly shown he is a predator. Because his concept of hunting down predators is anyone that is above the age of 18, I will slam the hammer down on, unless you're a kid, which children can be pedophiles. They can. But because he's a victim, he looks the other way. He has a flaw in his philosophy. He needs to step down. He can't be, and he definitely cannot be working with Gideon. That is a nightmare of a combination. His philosophy has no grounding of what he can do and what he shouldn't do and what happens when he crosses a line. Because he's following off of the whole big lie technique. And he's following off of the whole friend-enemy distinction type of thing. Of anyone who works with me is my friend, but anyone who criticizes me is my enemy. So he's already violated his principle that children can consent. Because he thinks children can consent, but children, under the principle of bodily autonomy, cannot consent to sex. Because they're not old enough to actually understand the complications of what they're getting into. This is a flagrant example of Schlep being extremely contradictory and inconsistent on someone he knew for years, 2003, when he wants to save face in a drastic attempt to disassociate from them. It's extremely malicious, it's calculated, and it is intentional. He will privately defend people, however, when they become a brand risk, yes, like I said, it's all about profit. You know, not to throw him in a box or anything, but I wonder, like, is he one of these, like, Jewish conspiracy nuts? Because if he is, you know, it'd be kind of funny, you know, considering, you know, the white supremacist position, where it's like, you know, the Jew values the money more than their God. You know, this motherfucker values his money more than his principles. So that says a lot about him if that's the case. He will privately defend people, however, when they become a brand risk, he will quickly opt to change his stance entirely and lack any backbone to remain consistent. If you care about real children, maybe don't chase Lolicon. Pablo says Lolicon is pedophile, then a few weeks later, he himself is outed as a predator. The fuck, man? Pablo dated a 12-year-old. So he came out and said it, while also defending him back then. Until he becomes a brand risk. Like, again, you can't trust these people. Let's see what time is it. It's 9:46. Let me go ahead and wrap this up. Looks like the rest of this, like some kind of email. I'll put the link to the Google Doc into the description when I close out the stream. Actually, hold on. I'll just do it right now. Don't worry, it's Beatty from Genshin Impact. She's legal. Let's see. Go to the studio. Go to my content. It should be under live. There we go. That. Yeah, I'll put the Google Doc in the description of the live stream so you guys can actually look at that for yourself. Let me put it up here. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here. And we're gonna save. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here because it's getting close to 10 and I got dialysis in the morning. But yeah, that is very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Like, it is a very consistent pattern with these types of people. But no shade at ChibiReviews, but like my position is quite clear. Like, you're both strangers in my book. I really have no reason that you're Schlep, but also at the same time, my reasons for not trusting ChibiReviews is just purely, you're a stranger. I don't know who the fuck you are. And while we do have common interest, and while we do have a common goal in terms of preserving freedom of speech and freedom of expression in terms of art, I do keep an eye on people's explanations, especially their philosophy, because that kind of tells me, like, you know, either you're just wrong or you're just like trying to deliberately skew people's perspective on some things. But other than that, I don't have too much of an issue with Chibi, for far as I know. Because apparently I don't know anything on what happened back then 6 years ago, so I can't really say anything on that. But if you guys got anything to say on that, leave that in the comment section. But until then, that's it for this live stream, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Killer Bean and Kirawa, if I said that right. Kihara. Yeah, there we go. Kihara. Thank you for tuning in, guys. I truly appreciate it. Until then, take care and be safe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, God bless.